seeing the value in one another will really help us to not be at odds so much and just immediately jump on the defense, you know?
It's because we in competition with each other. It's a whole bunch of scorekeeping. It's kind of hard to see the value in something that I'm competing with.
Raise a glass to the past, present, and future you with actress Danielle Monet Truitt as she dives into the beautiful complexities of life's journey through real, transparent conversation. All the women I've been made me into who I've been.
Hey y'all, it's Danielle Monet Truitt of All the Women I've Been. Thank you so much for tuning in to another virtual podcast episode. You know, sometimes I got people on the couch and sometimes I got people on the computer screen. So today I have to say he's probably one of my favorite people on Instagram. When I see a clip come up about, you know, one of those podcast clips about relationships or whatever, I always seem to get something really insightful from him. And some of you might know who he is too. His name is Trill. He has his own podcast called Crew Season, and he is one of the Avengers of tonight's conversation. We're going to have a conversation about Black love and some other things. So sit back and enjoy another episode of All the Women I've Been. Hi, Trill.
Hey, how you doing, man? I appreciate you having me first and foremost, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that. I wasn't just, blowing smoke when I say, I've seen your clips on Instagram, and I'm very new to the podcast space, by trade. I'm an actress, and last year, really, I have to say it was the Lord that put it on my heart to move into this space. I am not necessarily doing it, because I need to, I guess, or, to make a whole bunch of money or anything. I'm pretty well accomplished in what I do, but I just felt a need to bring women together, to encourage them. And the crazy part is, even though the podcast is called All the Women I've Been, I have had guys on the podcast, and you guys have been some really good. Y'all have been good.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the fellas for representing for us before me.
Right?
Got
Yeah. I usually have at least two of you guys. At least last season I had two. This season I have two. I always have really interesting conversations. I know when you have a podcast that's kind of for a niche group of people, sometimes it can become, very one-sided. You're always hearing women's opinions and, perspectives about things. And, the older I'm getting, the more maturing that I'm doing, a lot of times you need to hear the other side of things so that you can become more well-rounded, in what you're doing. So I've come across your clips quite often. And I don't even know if I've ever seen a clip that you posted that I've disagreed with, I usually agree with them all. There might have been one that I didn't disagree, but like a part of it, I maybe had a different perspective. But I think you're very good at shedding light on both male and female experiences. I don't think you pander to either side. And I think that's, that's really important. So you've helped me in my little dating
I love it.
situation. I was married for 12 years. I'm divorced, so I'm living a different, life than I was in my late 20s throughout my 30s, and there's
How's
some
that
things,
change, man?
huh?
How's that shift been?
I have to say, I actually am much happier single.
Uh-oh.
I am dating somebody, and I really enjoy dating him a lot, and I want it to continue. So, if it matures into something more serious, I would be happy. So I'm open to getting married again if it's the right situation,
Right.
but I'm not open to marrying someone outside of like what I know is right for me. And I think when I got married the first time, I was young. I was 25, 26 years old. I had just moved to LA. I was scared about security and safety and feeling like I was just alone. I felt alone, and he was my high school sweetheart. We had broke up and we reconnected, in LA. I started going to his church. I just started getting kind of funneled into his life. And for that time, it felt more safe because, LA was a new place, and tackling it on my own, it was scary, So I think the familiarity and the nostalgia caused me to make a decision that I don't think I was ready for at that time. So now that I have a second chance, this is like a new chapter of my life. If were to get married again, I would want it to be for a different set of reasons. I don't need we all need security in relationship, but I guess I don't need anyone to take care of me as far as like financially. I can, I take care of me. I take care of my boys. I've come into who I am more as a woman. So I'm looking for different things when it comes to having a life partner. And I guess the main word is partner.
Just
When I have,
that's the dope part about relationships, though, is that like nothing show you who you are like a relationship, especially after leaving one. Like you're gonna be, which I'd imagine you are, way more strict as far as boundaries, as far as things that I'm willing to tolerate, things that I'm not willing to tolerate. And it's not even a rule type of strict. It's just like, hey, if you don't meet it, oh well, that's fine. Go about your life,
exactly.
and I'm gonna go find somebody that does.
Yeah.
I think that's always like the dope part of hearing about, somebody that just got out of a long term relationship. They be way more locked in on what their boundaries are. I love that.
Yeah, and I think too, it can come with age, as well. And I have kids as well. Like,
Right.
I didn't have any children when I got married the first time. So now, getting into another relationship, it's more than just me, that whose future is at stake or anything. Who I bring around my boys is also, very important.
Critical.
Um, when I got divorced, I got a boyfriend after I, wasn't in my marriage anymore. And everybody says that this happens, like you get married, you get divorced, and then the first guy or woman that you date after you got divorced is kind of like, I don't know if it's like practice. I don't know what it is. Like, it's like, what is this? Like,
Right. Rebound situation. You just
it's
trying to
like
get your feet
rebound.
wet.
Yeah. It's like
Hmm.
rebound. It's like, let me just try something like completely different than
Right.
what I was in, and I got my little heart broke, dealing with that, but it was good.
Right.
It was like I needed to have my heart broken in that way, so that I could now come away from that and be like, okay,
Mhm.
now I'm a little more clear on, what it is I want. Now you're married,
Right.
correct? How
Mhm.
long have you been married?
Man, going on what, 8 years now? Yeah, eight
Oh, that's
years.
awesome.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ, man, it's time flying.
And how long did you guys date before you were married?
Man, we've been dating off and on since college, man. It's been a long time. But we actually met each other in eighth grade. That's the irony, like from the same neighborhood. But we didn't get together until after school was over with.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been a while. 8 years married is wild though. Jesus.
How did like what do if you've been married,
Mm,
it's marriage is it's a beautiful thing, but
mm,
it's also very challenging, and it can test you uh,
sure.
in ways that you didn't know. So yeah, I would love if you feel comfortable talking to me about your marriage and how you guys are navigating things.
Yeah, I think the first year of the marriage was horrible. It was horrible. I think it's because I had to kind of step into this new identity that it takes when it comes to being married. I say a lot like men, we not programmed to be married. We not programmed to be in relationships. A lot of times we programmed to go out there and pull attractive women. You know what I mean? And it starts at a very early age. what's the first thing that a mom says when she has a son and he's handsome? You say, "Oh, he's gonna be a heartbreaker. He's gonna hurt a lot of women." And then you grow up
Right.
listening to your daddy. Yeah, boy, back in the day, I used to get 10 numbers at the dance. Boy, I used to have 3, 4 of them at a time. Then you listen to your uncles, they saying the same thing. You get into your adolescence, you and your homies trying to figure out who can get the most numbers, who can have sex
Right.
first, who can, you know what I mean? And then even the women add to it because if when you look around at that age, the men who get the women typically are men who have a lot of women already or run through a lot of women. So it's
Right.
just influences all the way around that kind of program us to be anti-relationship. And then we meet somebody that we like a lot, and it hurts when she not there or when we see her dating somebody else or something. And
Mm.
now we got to try to reprogram ourselves on the fly. And a
Mm.
lot of times we got to lose a good woman to learn how to treat one. You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
that's just what it means. But yeah, the first year our marriage was rough. I was trying to make that transition. I would start getting a little, fame per se when it comes to the
Hmm.
social media, and then that comes with its own
Yeah.
temptation and things like that. And it's what I think as I went along, I started to realize, man, like it's actually cool to be able to take care of one woman. Like it's easy to have 10 that you can deal with whenever you feel like, you know what I mean.
Hmm.
But waking up to the same person every day, adapting to the changes that they making,
Yeah.
praying that they adapting to the changes that you making. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's the real testament of like, okay, you got some discipline. You start to take pride in just different things. Um, once you are in it, but I think for a lot of us, it's a rough transition. A lot of us don't make it because of it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't always peaches and cream for sure, but we just stayed with it.
Yeah. What do you think is one thing that your wife has taught you?
Man, that everything is not cut and dry. I think as a man, I'm like uber rational, sometimes too rational and too logical. You know what I mean? To where it's like some situations require some emotion. Some situations require you to maybe look at it from a different perspective. It's not just black and white. Sometimes it's gray, and I hate gray area, but it's there. It happens. Everything is, nuance. Can change the whole dynamics of a situation, but you got to be open to looking at it that way. And I think she's kind of like one taught me patience. For one, dealing with women is you gotta develop some kind of patience because again the emotional perspective a lot of women you just don't know what you gonna get emotional wise on a day-to-day basis. We
You
we can
don't,
love y'all to
okay?
death.
I'm with your wife. I'm the queen of the gray, okay?
Yes.
Nothing is black. Let me tell you something. Nothing is black and white with me.
See, there it
Nothing.
is.
And it's in every area. I mean, that's why I'm such a good actress because of the nuance. Like I literally live in the nuance. I think about it. Like I look at a situation and I'm like, okay, I see what the situation, I see what's happening, but I'm always looking for like what's actually happening,
Mm.
you know, not just the surface. And I think sometimes, yeah, I agree. Sometimes men can be like, well, they told you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but when he told me, he was rubbing his hand like this, and it made me feel, it
Which
made
is
me
pivotal.
feel like he wasn't really sure.
It's pivotal though, because like men are like, end of the tunnel focused to whereas women pay way more attention to detail than we do. But that's why it's good to have a woman that love you on your side because she gonna see angles and perspectives that you wouldn't even consider. And that can make
Right.
you sharper or that can make, it may take you a year to get to this goal by yourself. But with her there, you might get there in 6 months because she just know how to know different angles, know different things to take into consideration. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely say that, man. Taught me about gray area, taught me patience, taught me just how to look at things just from a different perspective. My way ain't always right, and that's okay.
Right. You guys have kids?
5-year-old, yeah.
Okay. How did that shift you guys' relationship? Because we all know once the kids come into play, it can it so you guys had 3 years where you guys were just married, which I think is a great thing. I think that I always give when I advise give advice to people who are getting married,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, don't have a kid right away. Take your time, take at least 3 years to like, enjoy one another,
Hmm.
travel, like,
Right.
do all that kind of stuff before you bring a child into the world. And to be honest, and this is not to sound cynical, but a lot of people do get divorced and they don't make it. So
50%.
take them 3 years because you never know. And if you can get divorced with no kids, that's much better than getting divorced and having kids. It turns it into a whole other thing. But yeah, how did it shift for you guys, and how are you able to stay connected to one another when you have this other human that needs you guys and taking up your time?
Man, I think I say it a lot. I think my daughter saved my life, truly. And what I mean is like I was a bit wild back then, running out, being outside all the time, running around.
Yeah.
But when you got a child and you realize, damn, like their livelihood depends on me, not
Yeah.
only from a financial perspective, but the example that they see. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's my little girl too, so it's like I want her to see what a healthy relationship looks like. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Not a lot of us come from broken homes. You know what I mean? Or a lot of us come from marriages to where it was a lot of arguing. It was a lot of, hey, we gonna stay together just for the kids. Things of that
Absolutely.
nature. And it's like I
Hmm.
don't want that for her. I want her to see what a healthy situation looks like. Not saying we ain't gonna have no problems. Not saying we ain't gonna have no disagreements. But I want her to learn conflict resolution from us as well. You
Yeah.
understand? So I think once I had her, all of that got put into perspective. I wasn't able to go outside as much, and then and because you have kids, you start to see that they watch what you do more than they listen to what you say, and that causes you to move a little bit different. You understand? Like, because we all done been kids, we done had people tell us, "Hey, don't go, don't do that, don't go out there and do that." But if the person telling us is doing it, it's like, yeah, all right, OG, I hear you, but I'm gonna go do what I want to do because I see you doing it, so it
I
must
see you
be,
doing it right.
you know
Why
what I
can't
mean?
I do
So
it?
yeah, and then you start to like see your personality come out of them and little traits and little mannerisms that you do. Like if you cuss, like they start cussing, like, hold on, let me slow down cussing now. You know what I mean? But you are directly responsible for how they turn out.
Absolutely.
So it's like once that sets in, it's like, nah, I gotta give a legit example to
Yeah,
to
and,
look up
and
to.
being a girl dad, I think it's important because, like you said, you want to be an example, and you don't want, if you're not in a good place, then chances are your daughter's gonna end up dating you in the future. And I think a lot of men do have to think about, am I the kind of man that I
Mm.
would want my daughter to be with? And
Which
if
is
that
the wild
answer
part
is
is because
no,
it's, yeah. Go ahead. Pardon me.
no, no, I was just saying, if that answer is no, then there needs to be some real reevaluation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of men are delusional enough to believe that we can live two different lives, right? That we can go outside and do what we want to do and then come home and live a totally separate life. Or it just goes back to what I said. I grew up, a lot of my uncles and things of that nature was drug dealers. So they'll go out there and do their 1-2 step and then come in and then like, nah, don't stay in school or do this, do that, da 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 da. And it's just like, yeah, I hear you, but
Right.
I see something else. I see this Benz you pulling up in. I see all this money that you counting on this table. I see that jewelry that you got on, and I
Hmm.
hear you, but this is what I want to. You know what I mean? So
I want
it's
that too.
I want
Right.
that too. You understand? So it's like that. You get to thinking about how pivotal those examples of what you seen was to your upbringing, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, I gotta give her something solid to look forward to or like to look up to. So and then not only
Right.
that, like I'm like real truthful with her. Like I don't talk to her like she a kid. I never have. Even when she
Love
was
that.
born, I talk to her like an adult. And when she has a question, I explain it in detail, like I'm talking to a grown person. But that registers to her. So now she in school and she's sharper than everybody. She's more advanced than everybody. So I think a lot of us as parents make the mistake of like forgetting that we was once kids. So if you
Right.
don't tell me how it works, I'm gonna go figure it out. So it would behoove you
To
to
be
give me the
upfront.
game, so I don't got to go get it from somebody who don't give a damn about me. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? So yeah,
Man, what do you and your wife do to stay connected?
and it's just like forcing date nights, forcing time together, and her mom really helps us out in that aspect. She actually lives with us. So
Okay, that's
we
great.
can still go out to that restaurant and do that 1-2, or we can jump on that plane and go get that quality time if it's necessary. So that right there is pivotal. I think if I got any advice for somebody, I say, man, you got to be selfish with that time between y'all. I know it's real easy to use your kids as an excuse. It's like, you know what I mean, but
It
eventually,
is
if
an
you
excuse at some point. It's an
right.
excuse.
But
Yeah.
the thing is that if you make enough excuses, you're gonna look up 5-10 years later and be looking at a complete stranger that you lay next to in that bed every night.
Yep. Yep. Very, very true. Um, when you made the shift, so you had your daughter, and you were like, I gotta get my shit together. Did your wife, how immediately did she notice a shift in you? Did she notice like you know, he's being different, he's trying to change? Like, what was that
ASAP,
like?
like ASAP, because like I was the type of dad, like I was at every appointment, like when she had her, like I was the one feeding her a lot. I was the one walking with her a lot. Like I was very, very active. You know what I mean? And very, very focused on that because it's like, man, this is a little me. Like this is crazy. I was so just caught off guard by it. Like, damn, this is wild. Like, you see people have kids all the time, and I didn't really like kids before I had my kid. You know what I
You
mean?
sound like me. I like my kids.
That's just it. Even to this day, you know what I mean? Like my niece and nephew, them too. But aside from them, for
Right.
me,
Man, I have, let me tell you, I have 11 nieces and nephews. I love all of them, love all of them. But it's very rare that I like other people's kids
right.
outside of the kids in my family.
That was me for real. And it's like, again, you had your own, and it's like, wait a minute, like this is cool. This is,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how it went, and yeah, she noticed the change quick because, like I said, I wasn't going outside no more that much.
Yeah.
I'm in the house. I'm like, when time to go get her when she crying next to the bed or something, it's me to get up and go do it. I just wanted to make sure. It made the idea of a family real to
Right.
me. To whereas before we was just a power couple. I'm successful in my own
Mm,
right. She's successful in her own right. We living good, things of that nature. But it still didn't feel like family until the kid
yeah.
came, and now it's like, okay, no, this is my family. I gotta take care of my family, and then I
Yeah.
think my
And
mindset
it's
changed.
more than just financial. It's
Hmm.
like you got to take care of the heart of your family,
Man,
you
and that's
know?
when you learn how money money can't fix everything, man. It's that time. It's that especially with kids. That's all they gonna remember. We grew up in a generation of where if you buy your kid a couple pairs of Jordans, you was doing what you're supposed to do as a dad. But
Right.
it's like you don't realize the effects of that until you get older, man, and you just realize, damn, my dad wasn't at no games. My dad wasn't at no gymnastics practices. He wasn't at
Hmm.
no baseball, nothing like that. He didn't sit down at the table and help me with my homework. He
Hmm.
didn't talk to me, have real conversations with me, show vulnerability, things of that nature. And then
Right.
you outside, and I can't express vulnerability, and I don't know why. Or I'm outside, and hey, I gotta go to work, and everything else gotta fall under that. And then
Right.
you understand like, damn, why is my relationship suffering because I want to go provide for it. You either realizing like, nah,
A
it's
lot of
time.
men don't understand that. They
Yeah,
don't.
but
They
again,
don't.
we can't give what we ain't got. That's what all a lot of us seen. Is our dad go to work, 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 work all day long, and as long as he was provided, hey, you got a roof over your head, don't you? You got food on the table, don't you? Then I did my job. But nah, it's we in the information era. I think we gonna be the generation to kind of shift that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I take pride in being that for real.
I love that. Now, was your wife immediately open to receiving this new Anthony? Or was she like, nigga?
He had been yearning for it. Finally, finally he didn't. But yeah, I mean, and again, it's not saying that I was horrible. I think I was just really just trying to find myself, man. I was
Hmm.
outside a lot. I was kind of caught up in my own hype a little bit. I was
Yeah.
chasing money. I'm trying to, got friends around me that shouldn't be around me. Things of that nature. You know what I mean? So it's like she always seen the potential in me, but it was just a matter of like, man, like it's about time for you to get there. You know what I mean? And I think once we had our daughter, and she was like, yes, finally. You know what I mean? You starting to hit the potential that I've been seeing
All
since
this
I met you.
time.
You know what I mean? So yeah, the relationship got better immediately.
I love that. When I was in therapy, there was something that my therapist told me, and I thought it was a very interesting um, just a very interesting, I guess, metaphor. I don't even know if it's a metaphor, analogy for a marriage. And I'd love to get your thoughts on it. But what she told me was that marriage is a mirror. So you have your husband and you have the wife, and they're mirroring each other. They might be doing two complete, or it seems like they're doing two completely different things to one another, but actually they're mirroring each other's behavior. And I just want to get your thoughts on that concept of marriage being a mirror.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and that's also why I put so much onus on the man setting the example for it. You know what I mean? Like your old lady is gonna do, or she's gonna operate within the parameters that you create, which is essentially what he's saying. If I'm out wild, or if I'm out at all times of night, or if I'm showing half-ass effort, or I'm kind of neglecting her and things of that nature, eventually she's gonna start doing the same thing because when I do that, I'm normalizing that being okay, or I'm normalizing that that's the way I want this relationship to operate. You know what I mean? So she gonna start doing it, and it may look a little different because of the perspective that she's doing it from. But that same neglect is still there. That same half-ass effort into the relationship is still there. It just looks different. You know what I mean? So that's why I put so much onus as a man. Like, it's your job to set that example. You know what I mean? If you showing up and being a man of integrity, doing what you say you're gonna do, and providing and making sure she good and feeling supported emotionally, and whether it's her career or things of that nature, like you showing up being her biggest cheerleader, then she gonna pour that right back into you.
Right.
But if keeping score or keeping tally, or you starting to get a little intimidated when she rises, or she may make a little more money than you or whatever, now that's gonna bleed into the relationship as well, and it's gonna end toxic. So as a man, like it's on us to set that example, fair or not. We are burdened with the expectation of leadership, and we got to fulfill that. And if we're not ready to, then we need to stay away from relationships.
What is male leadership really to you? Like, what does that look like? What does it look like in a dating space? And then what does it look like in a marriage? Do you think it looks the same in both, or is there a difference once you become an actual husband?
I think the job description changes slightly, but I think the mindset is the same. But male leadership is essentially me creating infrastructure for her to walk into. It's not necessarily me having money for her to walk into. It's a lot of men that got money that don't have infrastructure. And that's why a lot of times that money comes and goes. But that's on some like, no, this is the way this family is going to run. Like, this is the vision that I have in mind for it. This is the goal that I have in mind for it. And not only that, these are the steps I'm taking to get me there. And, I think my resume alone should be influential enough for you to know what you're walking into. You know what I mean? So I think that's the man's job. Like, the house is there, the car is there. I'm this far into my career. This is the way I, handle my finances. This is the way I, handle family or social events. I want to eat dinner at the table as a family at 8 o'clock. This is what I want to implement. Christmas, we're going to open up a gift the day before. Like, this is how I want my family to run. Like, creating our own traditions, like creating infrastructure for her to walk into. I think a lot of men don't necessarily do that. Like, we kind of depend on her to figure it out. You know what I mean? For depend on her money in terms of, like, let's say moving into an apartment that I wouldn't be able to afford if you wasn't with me. That's wrong. Or going to buy a car that I wouldn't be able to afford on my own unless you wasn't with me. That's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, again, what she brings to the table intangibly is absolutely necessary, in my opinion.
And one thing I found about men, they think there's all of these ways that they feel like they need to behave to be a man. Like, it's like, well, I'm a man, so I should have this, and this, even though they honestly cannot afford this. So then they bring a wife into the picture who thinks they can handle this, and this. And then as time goes on, the facade comes down and the wife is like, oh, I'm really not safe in this situation because you made me believe you had something handled that you did not have handled. So as a woman, I know what happened. A woman, at least the way I am, and women who are similar to me, I'm like, okay, I have to do it now.
Right.
The pressure is now put on me and that's something that definitely happened in my marriage. I already, when I moved to LA, my whole goal was to become a TV movie actress. Like that was the goal. I always knew I would get to where I am in some capacity. I felt confident of that. It was a very hard road for me, but I knew I would get there. But coming, like, having to, what it was is I thought I had the support, and he was not a rich man at all. Just, he owned a business, or whatever. But I was like, well, at least somebody is stable, until my stuff starts getting going. Once I'm getting going, I have the trajectory to make millions and millions of dollars. So, if I can just hold down the house while he's working, to give me the stability to be able to go after what I want to do, then at some point he ain't gonna have to worry about nothing, because we gonna be on. But what I didn't realize is he was struggling more than he let on, So then it put me in a position where I couldn't relax. I couldn't relax in the relationship. I always had anxiety. I was always worried about, is this going to be able to get paid? Are we going to be able to make ends meet? Is the rent paid? Is the lights going to get cut off, this month? And so that kind of, having to deal with that kind of stress, it wasn't even helpful for me in my career.
Right.
Because I'm going into audition rooms stressing about, I gotta get this.
Right. But again, that's part of the male leadership right there, is like trusting in what your stable is and accepting it. You understand? Like if your stable is a 600 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom with 1 car outside, it might be a Toyota Camry, whatever it is, that's your stable.
Yeah.
And being confident in that. Don't,
Yeah.
when I get this woman, let me try to get the Benz to impress her, or let me try to get the big loft downtown
Right.
to impress her, and this is not comfortable for me. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean by creating infrastructure. When you walking into this, the only way we can go is up. If you bring in something.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna keep elevating too.
Yeah.
But this is just where I'm at, and I'm confident in this infrastructure that I've created, and it's gonna take the pressure off of you, because now, just like you said, you're going into them auditions, you could be way more creative when that pressure ain't on you, or you can be way less stressed, and then you could probably gonna get more roles, and you're gonna elevate, and by product, I'm gonna elevate. But that's what male leadership is. It's not just finances. It's creating that safety. It's creating that ability for your woman to just say, okay. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about that. Let me just take this month off of work because this is stressing me. Or even when you start having kids and stuff, like you never know, like she may not be able to work. So that's why as a man, like your money got to be able to sustain the lifestyle. But you got to be confident in who you are. And a lot of men let women dictate what they do instead of having that more leadership.
Yeah. And I think that, and I can't speak for all women, but at least me and a lot of the women I know, my family and stuff, we're not. I know on social media there's this mindset. I saw a video the other day, and it was this guy he asked 2 white girls, can you be happy with a man that doesn't have any money?
Right.
The 2 white girls was like, yeah, sure, you can still be happy. Next 7 clips was them asking black women, and all black women is like, no. What? No money. What? Right. And I'm like, first of all, I'm tired of that narrative. Like, I'm tired of them making us out to be gold diggers. Like, we don't care about nothing but money. I'm like, first of all, I think part of the problem is you asking women that ain't got no money. Because women who have their own careers and have money and can take care of themselves will be the first people to say, absolutely. Because happiness really doesn't have anything to do with money. It's about who you are as a person. Now, if you a bum, I'm not going to be happy with you, right. But even when I was broke, I'm a lover girl. Like, I ain't never been out here like, well, he got to have this and he got to have that. Like, that's just not me. If I like your vibe and I connect with you, I'm like, okay, cool. So the sad part is, I think a lot of men they do blame it on women and say, oh, when these women are expecting blah 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 blah. But part of me feels like it's also something that's ingrained in them. It makes them feel like more of a man if they can say, well, look, I got this. A lot of us are not actually looking for all that. Like, just be honest about what you have, about what you can afford. We didn't have to live in a house when we first got married. We could have stayed in the condo. I would have been totally fine with that. We ain't got to pay gardeners. The light bill ain't as high. The water bill ain't as high. You could take me on more dates. You can pay for me to get my nails done instead of being house broke, and then there's all this extra tension when I actually do need to ask you for some money because you ain't got it, and so then it just causes more dissension between the two. So I think both men and women have these expectations of ourselves, and then we have these expectations of each other that are not really rooted in actual reality.
See, it's two things. I think even with the woman, don't get me wrong, if the woman making her own money, we got to ask ourselves how long. Because if she just getting to the money, then she gonna still probably be operating like those women in the video. And again, we'll look at that and say gold diggers, but we don't understand that's a trauma response. You know what I mean? A lot of us grew up broke, so of course money is gonna be the number one, aspect, especially if we done got a taste of it. Let's say it's a woman, she cute or whatever, she done been dating a dude, blue check, NBA dude, NFL dude, so she done got a little taste of that.
Right.
Now it's like, oh no, money is super important because I come from being broke. I ain't trying to go back.
Right.
And it's the same thing with women who making their own money. You know what I mean? Especially if it's new. I've been broke before. I don't want to go back. I like being able to go eat out and spend $200 on myself. I like being able to go to that mall and get these new shoes just cause. Not because it's an event, not because it's my birthday, just cause. I like living in this loft where I can look at downtown, the top of the buildings and things like that. I liked it. This is nice. I ain't trying to go back to that. You understand? But just like you said, if you have it long enough, which going back to your example, a lot of them white girls in that video probably come from families that been having money. It's not new to them.
Exactly.
So once it stops being new, now it's like, damn, what's left? Do we have a connection here? Because money alone is not going to sustain a relationship. If that was the case, Jeff Bezos wouldn't be divorced. Bill Gates wouldn't be divorced. Tiger Woods wouldn't be divorced. Michael Jordan wouldn't be divorced. If money was that important, you understand? These are some of the richest men in existence. They are divorced right now because they didn't learn the other things that are necessary to maintain that relationship. Yeah. But when you operating out of lack, a place of lack, you can't see that. You know what I mean? It's just like a lot of us who come from the hood. It's some of the smartest dudes I ever met in the hood. It's some of the most intelligent, creative people that I've ever met in the hood, but we'll never know that because they operating from a place of survival. Yeah. And when you operating from a place of survival, I can't reach my full potential because I'm just like you said, I'm worried about how I'm gonna pay this light bill, man. Yeah. I'm gonna do this, and I don't got a job, so now I got to go out here and get it the wrong way, and now I got a record, and now you know what I mean, all of these things. But if that person would have got the shot that them white girls you talking about in that video had, they could have been the next, you know what I mean, Elon Musk or whoever, you know what I mean. So I think when people are operating out of a place of lack, you're gonna get trauma responses, and unfortunately, a lot of us is the first of our families to be successful, the first of our family to have 6 figures or to be able to go take a trip to Greece or to go do crazy things like that. Like a lot of our family, they ain't got no familiarity with that. So we flying by the seat of our pants just trying to figure it out. Yeah. We got to give ourselves grace.
Yeah, for sure. It was an interesting article that I read about dating nowadays. And it was talking about how things have shifted so much because women for the most part, are not in a position anymore where they need to be married to survive. So back in the day, you had to get married, and way back in the day, the guy came and said, hey, I have these many cattle. Can I give them to you for your daughter? And then you went with this man that you didn't know, and then time passed and it was like, okay, most women were stay-at-home moms. They weren't working. Like, I know when my nana moved from Louisiana to California, there were certain laws where women could not work if they hadn't been in the state for a certain amount of time, or if they were not married, or, if they had kids out of wedlock. There's like all of these boundaries that were keeping women from excelling.
Couldn't buy houses either. Don't leave that one out.
Right, yeah. You couldn't get a house. Yeah. So, and my nana ended up marrying this man that was 30 years older than her because she moved to California with 5 children, and she was cleaning his building. She was a gorgeous woman. He was just had to have her and was like, I'll buy you a house. Now, he ain't tell her he was moving in too.
Right. Of course not.
Right. So he moves in with her and her 5 girls, and, she had to live in this marriage with a man she did not love, to survive, Nowadays, because of the sacrifices of our grandmothers and, even mothers, I live a very different life, Like I said, I don't need a bill paid necessarily. Would I like a bill paid? Absolutely. But I don't need it. I can take care of myself. I can take care of my kids. I'm good. It wasn't always that way. And like you said, I ain't trying to go back, which is why any old guy can't come into my life and I got it, baby. Oh, it ain't even about how much money you make. It's about, do I feel like you trying to take from me, or are you trying to help elevate me? And because I'm going to elevate you. Like, I'm a nurturer. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour into you. I'm going to help lift you up. But I got to feel like you not trying to take from me, either. So in this article, they were talking about how hard it has been for men to date, because now they don't get to show up and be like, oh, I'll take care of you. Because a lot of women are like, okay, like, I can take care of myself. So what else do you have? There was a guy I had went on a few dates with, and I was getting to know, and we were out eating, and he was talking about like the last girl woman that he had dated or whatever, and he was saying, he was dating her, but she was very much aware that she was not going to be the only woman that he was going to be with, and they had kind of recently broke up because she got to a point where she was just like, what are we doing, Right. And so I'm very, I'm on a couple dates with him, so I'm just listening, and he's like, yeah, I'm honest, like, I don't lie, I don't lie, like, I tell you up front, like, you could be my main, but you're not going to be my only, because men are not wired. Men are not wired to be monogamous. Right. Like, they're not wired. Listen, I have my thoughts about monogamy too. I don't necessarily think it's a human thing that is normal. And this is what I said. I said, just men? Only men aren't meant to be monogamous? I said, you don't feel that way? You don't think it's like a human thing? Like, monogamy is kind of something that we had to learn as, as people. No, women, they meant to be monogamous. That's in y'all nature to be monogamous. Like,
you start quoting Bible.
I cheated. Like, I have been a cheater. So, am I a man? Maybe I'm a man because I've been a cheater. So, okay. So I'm just listening. I'm like, okay. So he's like, yeah. So, I told her, I'm gonna see other women. She, she knew, and she just couldn't handle it or whatever. And so I was like, so that's how you still, feel like if me and you continued on with what we're doing, you would have other women, but I couldn't have other guys because, at this point I've been married already. So I'm like, listen, if you want to date, we date or whatever, but you do your thing over there. But then I got to be able to do my thing, if that's how you want to live, because you're not just going to be going off doing whatever and then throwing off my pH balance. Like, it's not happening.
Going back to the mirror example you gave earlier.
Exactly. So he's like, no. Yeah. I mean, I just, I said, well, what is in it for me? Like, what's in it for me? Well, I would take care of you. I said, sir, I don't need you to take care of me. Now, I live in the two most expensive places in America to live, which is Los Angeles and New York City. This person lived in Atlanta. Now, Atlanta is beautiful, gorgeous homes, everything. I would love to buy a home in one of those states where the amount of money that I spend on my houses in California, I could get acres and acres and acres of land there. So I said, oh, you're going to take care of me. Okay. So in what way? Like, he was like, I'll pay your rent and stuff like that. And, you can just spend your rent money on shoes. You can just buy shoes.
Jesus Christ.
Then in my mind, I'm like, this is the last date we will ever have. First of all, sir, you cannot afford to take care of me. You don't know how much money I have to put out to maintain my lifestyle.
Right.
I know for a fact you wouldn't be able to take care of both of my mortgages and rent in New York. No way. So I'm like, he literally has nothing to bring to the table. And for me, what you need to bring to the table is emotional intelligence, compassion and gentleness, a vision for your life, number one. And then once we continue on our journey, then there can be a vision for our lives.
Correct.
But I got to know that you have a plan for yourself. Where do you see yourself, And so the article was just talking about how men are having a lot of trouble because they're used to just showing up and saying, hey, here's the money. I'm going to take care of you. And then I'm going to go off. I'm not going to be able to be emotionally available to you. But women are requiring that you actually be emotionally available, that you actually show up, that you actually listen, that you actually be vulnerable and not leave us out in a little boat on the sea drifting off by ourselves. So I just thought it was very interesting, like in this season of my life, being a middle-aged woman and who is dating, finding a man that is actually who desires to be vulnerable and be emotionally intelligent is hard. Like it's been a challenge for me. Now, luckily, I think I have found one, and it is not without I have my shit too, so I'm not saying any of this to say I'm completely mature in every single way, but it's the desire,
Yeah, I think that's just scary territory for men. I think a lot of men are under the guise that, like, if I express vulnerability, she gonna lose respect for me as a man. Like, she not gonna respect my leadership. And again, we can't give what we ain't got. A lot of us, like, that's what we've been programmed to think. Even today, if we're gonna keep it real, to where if you make money, you get a pass on everything else. That's just honest, you know what I mean? So we got to look at the other women for messing the game up.
That's true. They're like, well, he can cheat. He takes care of me.
You know what I mean? Would you rather cry in a Toyota or cry in a Rolls Royce? Like, that's saying don't come from nowhere. You understand? Like, you get way more, you know what I mean? It's way more nuance that gets to get poured into it when some money involved.
Does it work for the other way around? Because, if I'm balling and I'm cheating on you, you gonna stay with me? Because I'm balling. I'm taking care of everything.
Here's the thing about that, right? Now, as a man, right, most men are gonna say, hell no, you cheating, I'm out of here. I don't care about your money. Right. They're gonna say that publicly. But I think behind the scenes, the same rule applies, man.
Right.
This lifestyle that I got, you understand me? It's gonna allot me a whole bunch of leash that I wouldn't have if I was stocking boxes at Walmart, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I think the women worth having are probably the ones they talking about in that article. And with that, money ain't enough, brother. Like, you gotta show up and actually have personality. You gotta show up and actually be able to connect and actually be able to, be truly supportive of her and what she's doing, and not take her elevation as an indictment on your leadership and things like that. You know what I mean? These are things that we have to learn. Vulnerability
Yeah.
is another one. I'm not all the way comfortable with that as well. I'm
Hmm.
just articulate. So, I mean, I can do it, but I don't
Yeah.
desire to be because it's uncomfortable. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it ain't just with her; it's with anybody.
Yeah.
Men, we kind, especially where a lot of us come from. Being vulnerable is weakness. We don't,
Mhm.
you don't express no vulnerability. You could be hurting. You come outside like it's all good. You understand? Because if people see that weakness, then they're gonna take advantage of it where we come from. You see what I'm saying? So I think that kind of translates or transfers into the relationship to where vulnerability is just an uncomfortable thing. We would love to connect with y'all from that way, but I think a lot of times it's gonna take a woman with a whole lot of patience, and it's gonna take a
Absolutely.
woman actually walking you through what that looks like.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And unfortunately, we in an era to where I would venture to say most women don't care to dig that deep as long as you got some money, and that's
I
just
agree
honest.
with you. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree. And as a woman who wants to support, nurture,
Hmm.
encourage women, it frustrates me. It frustrates me because I'm like, boo, do it for yourself. Do you know how just the like how proud of myself I feel when I accomplish my own goals, when I do my own, when I have like agency in my own life and
Right.
I'm not looking to a guy to be like, you need to give me this, give me that. I can only live the life of my dreams if you provide it for me. Like, if anything, it should be both of us bringing what we have together, like, so that we can build an empire. Like, that's to me, that is the goal,
You know what
not
the
to.
irony about that is that the fact that you don't require that makes us want to do it more.
Right.
Talking about the again, going back to the people you should be dating. We're gonna leave the toxic people in a pool somewhere over here.
Right. Right.
I'm talking about the people you should be dating. As a man, hypothetically speaking, if I'm single tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not dating a woman that's not at least remotely close to my success level. And it's not nothing against women who not, but it's just like if I'm dating you, I need you to be able to relate to me and understand, what goes into making this money and what goes into creating this lifestyle. And if something happened to me, I need you to be able to jump in that driver's seat and drive that car. You understand? And that's gonna come with,
Absolutely.
of course, me teaching you some things. But I also expect to learn some things from you too. And just like you said, we building together, you elevating, I'm elevating, I'm pushing
Yeah.
you pushing me. We look up,
Right.
this the example we setting for the kids. That's gonna be a very, very fruitful situation in comparison to somebody that I'm saving
Right.
from poverty that don't have no idea how none of this works. Not saying they can't learn, but again, the relatability is not there because it's different when somebody put $1 million in your lap in comparison to when you had to go actually work for that $1 million. You're gonna
Right.
handle it totally different. You understand? It's just like a
Right.
car. When people, if you people driving rentals, they gonna drive it reckless. They gonna drive however they want to drive. I'm 100
Right.
miles an hour. But your car that you pay for, oh, now hold on. Hey, bro, put that out, bro. We don't smoke in here. Hey, pick
Okay.
that up.
Stop eating in my car.
I'm eating in my, you know what I mean? That's over with because you don't work for it. You know what went into that. You understand?
Right.
So I think it's the same way in that scenario.
What about now? What do you feel about, since we're talking about situations where maybe a guy is well off and he comes in and he's kind of and on the West Coast we call it cap to save a hoe.
Right? I got you.
Is that should I save her, or
Right.
that's like,
Not the East Coast.
Captain Save a Hoe, he come in, he paying for everything. He's like, oh, what you want, a nail shop? I'm gonna get you a nail shop. What you want, how? And I think that's a good heart that a man could have for his lady, to be like, hey, how can I elevate you? How can I? But then, is there a such thing as like spoiling a woman too much or spoiling a man too much? Because honestly, after my marriage, when I dated the next guy I dated, I am a giver. That's
Right.
who I am. And if I really fool with you, I'm gonna support you. Now, am I gonna give you all my shit? No.
Right.
But I'm gonna be like, hey, what do you need? How can I help you? Who can I introduce you to? whatever. Everybody doesn't have a genuine heart, so they take advantage. But there's certain circumstances where I know men who have done this for their wife, that for their wife, and then their wife kind of gets on, the career starts booming, going or whatever, but they don't like reciprocate it back to. It's like they're so used to him taking care of everything. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go make all my money and I'm gonna keep all my money, and then you just continue to pay everything. And everybody's talking about this 50-50, should it be 50-50? Should the man still pay for everything? Let the wife keep everything? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, I think it's just like anything else. If you give something to somebody and they are undeserving of it, then they gonna handle it in the wrong way. It's just like a kid, right? And a lot of us can relate to that. Like I said, we the first our generations to be successful. But we still want to teach our kid, work leads to reward, not just reward. But if we just spoiling our
Right.
kid left and right, and then they get outside after they leave our house, they gonna expect things to be handed to them.
Right.
And it's no different than being in a relationship. It's nothing wrong with if your wife or your girl or your man has a passion for something and they willing to put in the work to really go, you know what I mean? I'm talking about tangible work. I'm not saying waking up one day, you know what, baby, I want to open a barber shop. No. Has he got certified? Is he going to school for it? Is he like, what steps are being taken for you to actually show me that this is what you want to do?
Yeah.
And if you're showing me tangible results, then I gladly pour into you. But
Yeah.
if you ain't showing me none of that and I'm just giving you this as a gift, then it ain't gonna last anyway. You understand?
Right.
But you damn sure not gonna handle it the right way. So again, that's what I mean when I say relatability is big. I need somebody that understand what this grind look like. I need somebody that understand that it's gonna be late nights and it's gonna be some date nights missed. It's gonna be some times we might have had to travel, but I got to do a pod this week. There
Right.
might be some times, whatever that got to be met, that got to be sacrificed to build this. Because when
Yeah.
you got that understanding, you're not gonna take that type of stuff personal. That's just like
Right.
you. If you on a show or you in a movie, you might have to be gone for months. It's
Exactly.
gonna take a different type of understanding, especially from a male perspective. Like when we talk about our woman, you know what I mean, gone for months and weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Hell nah, most men. You understand what I'm saying? But it take a certain type of person to understand, like, nah, this is the reason she doing it. So I get it. She done explained it to me, or I done had to grind myself. It may be in a different industry, maybe in a different way, but I understand. You understand?
Yeah.
That's why relatability is so important. But if you just give somebody something, like I said, if you dump it in their lap without them showcasing some type of work ethic, some type of really, I want to go get it,
Yeah.
then they gonna fumble it anyway.
Yeah. And also, I think on top of that, not just I want to go get it, but like this is for us. Like whatever we're both doing in our individual careers, lives, whatever, is to funnel into what we have. So if something happens, you lose your job, I'm not looking at you like, what we gonna do? Or not there for you as much as you've been there for me.
But also, and again, not to cut you off, I think it takes a special type of man to be open to that.
That's
Because a
true.
lot of men are not open to receiving help from their
That's
woman
so
in any
true.
regard.
I
Like you'll try
know.
to buy them a gift, and you be like, "What you buy this for? Like,
Well, I know.
what you need? Nah, I don't need nothing. Why you do that? You know what I mean? So it take a certain type of man to understand, like
It's
your
like
woman.
they're on the opposite ends. Either it's the one that wanna, hey baby,
Right.
can I get, or it's the one that's like, what you doing? Why
What
you
you
why you
doing?
buying me stuff? It's like, yo, like,
But it's just understanding, the fact that, hey, this is my partner, bro. Like we not in competition. We not keeping tallies. What she does for me is she's not second guessing my leadership. You know what I mean? Because you want
right,
to buy me something or whatever. That's cool. You see what I'm saying? But you got to reach a certain level of maturity for that to work. Because there's a lot of dudes who you can't do that for,
right.
or or they'll secretly want it from her, but they program her not to do nice things for them
And then they
based on
get
the street.
mad at her
Exactly.
when she don't do it.
Exactly.
Like she'll never do this. She not. Well, you taught her to not do it. I'm sure at first she was trying to do it, and you, no, what you doing made her feel bad, never accepted. Nobody wants, when you try to give somebody a gift, I know for me, I love giving gifts because I love to see people's reaction to what I got them. Because I usually take a lot of thought to think about what I think would make them happy. And it makes me happy to see them happy. So if I'm giving you a gift and you acting like you don't want it, acting like it ain't nothing, take it, then that's putting me down, and it's making me feel like, damn, like he doesn't value me, But when you give me a gift, you want me to be excited, Men and women are different, but we are not that different. I think that's a big thing that people struggle with. It's like, well, I'm a man, so it's like, well, no, we both need the same core, emotional things. We both of us need those things. And if we don't need them, it's because society has taught us, that we don't need it.
But that's why I take having a woman that's patient enough to really sit you down and really talk you through why you need these things. And you know what? I hear you saying that you don't want it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And this is what it is. You understand? Because it all comes from programming. We didn't all grew up in households to where Christmas come and the dad present underneath the tree is a tie and a damn pair of socks. You understand? Like this is what we see growing up. So, but then we look at him. And he's sitting back on that couch proud as hell as his family opening up these gifts. Like, that's me. That's me. So as a man, we thinking, okay, well, I don't need anything. I'm good. My grandpa didn't. My daddy didn't need nothing. You know what I mean? I guess I get my fulfillment from giving. And don't get me wrong, you do. But, a lot of men's love language on the low is acts of service. And they don't really know it yet until you run into a woman patient enough to show you that that's what it is. You understand? But yeah, I mean, men be programming women to treat us all types of wrong, and we don't realize it. And it's like you can't feel less than a man from just demanding effort. It ain't even a material thing. Like, for example, my wife, it ain't much that my wife can buy me at this point. Like, I got a bunch of things, you know what I mean? Some things I shouldn't have, but a bunch of things. You understand? But it's the effort. It's the, it could be a handwritten letter. It could be a goddamn Post-it notes all around here to lead to something small or something. But it's that effort. It's like, nah, she really
thought about it.
Damn. You know what I mean? And that feels good as a man. Like that type of gratitude and like her showing like, nah, baby, I appreciate the sacrifices you getting up and making every day. I appreciate that. And this is my small way of showing it. It ain't, a new car or a new house or nothing, you know what I mean? But hey, this is my that's, man, you get a woman through that, you gotta marry that, brother. Like, that's just real. All the fellas getting this, man, you gotta marry that, brother, because, bro, you'd be surprised. It's a lot of women new mindset, just like what you're talking about. Like, I ain't buying him nothing. Like, it's his job to take care of me and pour into me. And,
or if I do buy him something, it's gonna be something just that not a lot of thought put into it,
That's why I don't understand when people be going online. They be like, man, what should I buy my partner? Christmas coming up. I'm like, damn, you don't know your partner enough to know what they want or what they need? That's a problem in itself.
All you got to do is listen. They'll tell you what they want without really telling you.
That's it. Because I know for me, it's simple things. As long as it's something that I use regularly, I'm happy. You know what I mean? I like to drink Don Julio Reposado. You give me a new bottle of that, or you give me, I like my little, something that I'm gonna do frequently, I'm gonna use frequently. I'm good, So it's just you gotta know your man, And a lot of men, and as men, you gotta know your woman. Sometimes a big gift ain't the way. Sometimes your woman just want to spend quality time with you. Man. Sometimes she would rather you take her goddamn at a stay-in hotel downtown than you go buy her a new bag and then leave the crib, leave her by herself with the bag. You know what I mean? It's just we be thinking that big grandiose things is what's gonna make it happen, and a lot of times it's that quality time. Your woman just want to be next to you, want to be near you, want to know that you give a damn. So you got to analyze your woman, because you'll be done did that big grandiose thing and she don't respond the way you think she should. Now you mad at her.
I just bought you a Louis. A Chanel bag. Okay, thank you. This is my 5th Chanel bag.
Right. Know your partner, man.
Okay, so before we end, I just want to ask, what do you think in what ways do you think Black men and women could love each other better? Whether we're in romantic relationships, just friends, online, just the way that we interact with one another. I just feel like the last couple of years, especially on social media, I just see so much disdain and like weird energy, toward one another. I know season 1 and in season 2 on my podcast, I asked the question, do men like women? This is a question I have been asking men, because the first time I asked it was to my homegirl, because we were on a podcast and we were talking about stuff, and I'm like, do men even like us? Like, I don't even know anymore. I don't even know if they do or ever have, to be honest, because when I think about my childhood, the other men I've seen, I always see my grandma and grandpa arguing. I see my parents arguing, my dad not having no patience with my mom, the things that happen in this world, men being abusive toward women, all the rape, all the molestation, all of the verbal abuse, it's just like, do they like us? Like, not do they want to have sex with us and, marry us or whatever, but just like the respect between men and women. And because I'm Black and I love Black love, I'm like, in what ways, what can we do to just foster a better understanding of one another? I think stuff like this can definitely help, but I just want us, and I love the Black love movement and stuff like that, but I don't know, I still feel like there's so much dissension, between the two.
Man, I think one is just realizing we on the same team. I think that's the first thing. I think we've let propaganda, whether it be the feminist movement or whether it be red pill or whatever, we've kind of let propaganda dictate how we deal with each other, so much so that we become delusional in regard to it. Example being, you'll be watching these pods and it's, all these women want is money. All these women want is cars and nice houses and all of this. And again, there are some women who do want those things. But if you took a step back, turn that computer off, turn that phone off, and looked around you, most women, most men are just regular people.
Yeah.
They don't care about that much. They just looking for somebody solid. I'm looking for somebody who's solid, who have integrity, who I can build with, whatever. That's the majority, the real majority.
Yeah.
I think we be on social media listening to loud minority and then moving amongst life like that's most people, and it's not, you know what I mean? So I think for one, just realizing that we on the same team. For two, being humble enough to take the time to understand each other. We don't operate the same way, and that's perfectly okay. You know what I mean? It's not on either one of us to beat our way of operation into the other person. It's just accepting how that person shows up and analyzing, okay, how can that benefit what I'm building? And vice versa, you know what I mean? And let me get somebody who can benefit what I'm building. Somebody who don't fit what it is that I'm looking for, I'm not going to tear them down. I'm not going to beat them down. I'm not going to say you need to change or you need to do this, you need to do that. You're just not for me, and that's fine. And I still got love for you, and I wish you the best. But I'm going to go be with this person who actually fits me. We actually compatible when we're trying to build something.
Right.
So you don't got to tear something down just because it's not your type.
Well, and what can I learn? Because we're not wired the same, which means there's something to learn from the other sex, the other person. So it's like, I'm not the most logical thinking person all the time. So I ask questions. What do you think about this? Because I know I'm emotional and I'm making certain decisions out of my emotions, So I agree. Like, respecting one another and seeing the value. I think seeing the value in one another will really help us to not be at odds so much and just immediately jump on the defense,
It's because we in competition with each other. It's a whole bunch of scorekeeping. It's kind of hard to see the value in something that I'm competing with, you know what I mean? And like I said, propaganda has kind of caused us to compete with each other. We be thinking that the elevation of one is an indictment on me, and that's crazy. You look at what propaganda did historically. Like, Hitler almost took over the world. with propaganda. Germany is a very small country
Yeah.
in comparison, but propaganda was strong enough to where he could take over the whole world with it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely responsible for our divide. But that's why we got to learn how to get off of these phones, get off of these computers, and really analyze what's going on around us. Every man is not out. Is not a predator out to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Every woman is not a gold digger looking for a Rolex and a Rolls Royce and a most people are average people. Average salary is about $50,000 somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Most people are average people just looking for something solid, looking
Yeah.
for somebody that I can build with, somebody I can have kids with, give me a nice little crib somewhere, duck off, and
Yeah.
and that's it. Everybody don't want to be at the Grammys.
Right.
Everybody don't want to be at the ESPYs or at Drake's private party or everybody not shooting for that. You understand?
Right.
Most people are not shooting for that.
No.
So I think once we realize that, like, what's this propaganda is not real life for one, and for two, realize we on the same team. So there's no need to compete. If you elevate, we elevate. If I elevate, you elevate. It's not an
Yes.
indictment on either one of us. Once we establish those grounds and realize that neither side is out to like take advantage of each other or
Right.
do each other harm, then I think we'll start building the way we need to. But as long as this propaganda, which is social media, in my opinion, is
Yeah.
as strong as it is, we gonna struggle to do that.
Yep.
Just
Thank
sad
you. Said perfectly. Thank you so much
Appreciate it.
for joining us.
Women I